What's up, guys? Just give it a bit. Wait for people to join. I just want to see if this actually shows up on my YouTube news feed. Oh, it does. All right, cool, sweet. Sometimes it doesn't. So yes. So yeah, a lot of YouTube channels have been getting their channels deleted, unfortunately, especially weed tubers. Seems to be what YouTube is targeting these days. I don't know what it is. Interesting. Why weed? If anything, I would have thought that psychedelic videos would be way more taboo, but maybe, I don't know, maybe we're next, guys. Maybe we're next. Who knows? I hope not. I have, though, deleted many of my past videos, and I will still be deleting some old ones. Maybe I should change. I think with all my weed videos, which is not many really, but maybe I should just change the names. So I've got a video, it's like the weed capital of Australia. Maybe I'll change it to like the Merry Hush capital of Australia. That doesn't even make any sense. Maybe it will actually make the video more clickbaity because it makes no sense. They're like, Merry Hush, what the fuck? You mean weed? I guess we'll find out. Fuck it, I'm doing it. Safer than weed. The Merry Hush capital of Australia. That's so stupid. It's so dumb, the things that we got to do. Yeah, that this is well, it's not exactly why. To be honest, I've been getting a little bit away from purely drug content anyway, but it's still bullshit. It just encourages. I don't know. I get more encouraged to like not do drug related content because is it worth it? Imagine if like my whole channel gets shut down because of some old videos or whatever. That would be even the worst, actually. Like getting strikes from videos that you did like 2 years ago. Oh man, it's like fuck. I don't even agree with that version of myself. Yeah. So I'm just checking. It's got me a little bit paranoid. Does anyone know what specific weed video got striked from Adam? I mean, psych substance. If I was to guess, it would be versus shrooms, but I'm not sure. Hey, you're in that right hashtag now. Yay, thank you. I listened to you. Hashtag guys. If that's going to give me the numbers. Hey man, you got to do what you got to do, right? So hang on a sec. I just got to check out my old videos. Only a matter of time before we were sharing meth lessons. So someone commented on my coca leaf documentary. You know that mild stimulant that's comparable to, I don't know, green tea, stuff like that? Yeah, apparently me and my girlfriend consuming those leaves is equivalent to meth. Ugh, people are dumb. So am I. Like, I'm not gonna. I guess we're human, it's part of it. If you're in an animal body, you're gonna have some problems. That's part of the game, I suppose. That's what I tell myself anyway. So hang on a sec. So video manager. Let's see. I want to see all my private videos. Guys, you should see my private videos. Literally millions of views worth of videos I've had the private. for multiple reasons. Actually, it's not even just the whole YouTube thing. It's for my own like moral reasons as well. So I might be deleting all shroom related content. Fuck, I've got a lot of shroom related content on my private, because I'm just looking at my privated videos list. See if anyone remembers these. Oh yeah, mushroom pick. I did a mushroom picking fucking video when I first started. Ah, what an idiot. It's like highly illegal. First heroic magic mushroom dose, 5.5 grams with lemon turk. How to avoid a bad trip, safe guide. Trip report, psilocybin mushrooms, 3.5 grams. Very insightful. These are all monetized, by the way. Microdosing psilocybin mushrooms experiment, day 1. Microdosing psilocybin experiment 2. My girlfriend's first magic mushroom experience documentary. This was my very first, somewhat of a viral hit, I suppose. I don't know if you consider it viral, but it got a lot of views. Last time when I privated it, it had 671,000 views. Pretty good. Then I've got 7.5 psilocybin mushrooms preparation. Good luck. Oh man, some of these are really embarrassing. Back. Shrooms trip report, 7.5 gram heroic dose in silent darkness. Ego death. Which is it's a bit of an oxymoron. I genuinely think it is impossible to have an ego death, and even the word ego death is the most egotistical thing that you can ever say. It's like, yes, I killed my ego. It's like, how? It's impossible. Ego is literally awareness. Without ego, you wouldn't be able to perceive anything. So you're just looking at life through a different lens. Doesn't mean it's an ego death. But we learn. Like, this was like fucking what? Start of 2016, over 2 years ago. Alright, what do I got? Ayahuasca trip report. Icarus 480 interview. 7.5 gram shrooms trip report update. Oh man. My first MDMA experience. How to prepare for your first psilocybin trip. Shrooms guide. That time I saw demons. Bad DMT trip. Hallucinogenic mad honey. Live experience. Yeah, there you go. See? Quite a few videos I got privated. Bad DMT trip. Trip report. Oh man, I love that video. RIP. Which video? Which video are you talking about, Gingerbeck? I know this may sound way far out, but this is a single unifying harm reduction and drug education possible. Like Dakota, Coy, Avenue. Yeah, but I don't think it'll be worth it, man. I know, because a lot of people are like, oh, you should go to WeTube, you should do DTube, you should do this, you go blah, 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 blah. But nothing compares to YouTube. Like, not even close. Not even close. There is absolutely nothing in this world that compares to YouTube in terms of, like, how user-friendly it is, how widespread it is, and, like, it's already got, like, this established community behind it. And like, it sucks. Like, worst case scenario, I mean, yeah, sure, I guess I'll move to a different platform, but personally, I would just change my content. And I know it's like a very, you could say, oh, you're selling out, whatever, but like I said, I've been kind of leaning away from drug content anyway, but I can only speak for myself. That's the only thing. I'm probably just going to focus more on other stuff. Or, no, actually, to be honest, it just depends what I feel like. Because this is just me saying it now. Because there are other times where I generally do feel like making like some sort of like a cool documentary. I'll just have to be extra careful. And if I'm that paranoid, then maybe I'll post certain videos on another platform. You know, maybe put on my website or something. Because, like, for example, we're still going to reach our... Because I put for my Patreon milestone, once we hit that, I'll start making like a San Pedro mezcal. So this was during my time, me and my girlfriend's time, went to Peru. This is over a year ago, just before, yeah, it was before I collabed with Adam. And yeah, I just don't know if I can put that on YouTube. Like, if I can get away with it. I don't know. I love the heroic dose 7 point. That's one of the videos I'm most embarrassed about. second most. The most embarrassing one is the one where I documented my girlfriend's trip. I get what you say on YouTube. Have you thought on joining similar channels on a sort of petition or letter? I bet it'll get a better response from YouTube. I don't know if it's worth it. What am I going to fight against? It depends what videos are getting deleted. Like, if YouTube are cracking down on graphic drug use on camera, I kind of agree with them in some way. Like, I'm not, of course, I'm against the war on drugs, etc., 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 and you should be able to do whatever you want to do. But having a drug on camera is still promoting it, even if you have this harm reduction lens. Because you got to think of, like, yeah, I mean, from your intention, from your point of view, it's like, yeah, I'm educating people on drugs, blah, 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 blah. But as soon as you smoke weed on camera, or as soon as you take a psychedelic drug on camera, you are promoting it. Period. And then kids are going to see that, and they're going to be encouraged to do the same thing, because they're like, oh, this guy's fucking turned out okay. Even if you fucking say nothing but negative things about it, it's still promoting it in one way, shape, or form. I'm trying to understand from YouTube's perspective. It's not something that I necessarily agree with 100%, but I can understand, and I don't know if it's something we're fighting for, because I don't think we should have graphic drug use on camera. I really believe that. Like, weed, I'm like, I don't give a shit. That's whatever. But I guess from other people's perspective, they don't want their kids to be encouraged by that. I don't know, guys. Laugh my ass off. Laugh about what? What are you in your ass about? Like I said, it's not something I necessarily agree with. It's just, I'm trying to understand from others' perspective. We live in a society, a democracy, I suppose. Well, nice. Came here. Info got hit with common sense. Thanks. No worries, mate. Don't do it then. Don't do what? We live in a society. But it's still, the approach that YouTube has taken is wrong. Regardless. Let's just say that objectively, smoking weed on camera is like the worst thing that you can possibly do. I think that since it's been happening for so many years, I think YouTube should have at least given these channels a chance, you know, like give them a letter, be like, oi, listen, you've got fucking 48 hours or whatever time limit to delete all weed related videos. Like, at least they could have done something like that instead of just deleting people's livelihood, basically. That's where I have a big problem with. But damn, yeah, scary times. I was actually more worried about the first scare back when me and Adam were traveling through New Zealand, when we got all these strikes. Because that was scary because I got strikes for videos that were literally like, how is this controversial? This had no graphic drug use or nothing like that. And it got fucking 2 videos removed. But then I appealed them and they were all good. And I think YouTube admitted that it was a mistake. So, but this time around, I'm pretty sure they're actually targeting specifically weed, it seems. The part that scares me is like, what happened if this is just the first phase? Like, first it's weed, and then they start targeting psychedelics, you know? Maybe they're just after the hippies, because they know that we're not going to do anything. They're like, hippies are fucking lazy. Then they're really not going to take action. They're just going to act like they're going to do something, but nothing's going to happen. So we'll just target these motherfuckers. What are they going to do? Maybe that's what they think. Like, if I'm just trying to think of from a corporate perspective, I guess from all the groups to attack, I would have attacked the hippie community, because it's like, from your perspective, all you see is, oh yeah, the people that want to save the world, but all they do is smoke weed. I don't know, guys. I don't know. But I'm going to try to the thing is, I've been very cautious, so I don't know. Am I just going to be more cautious? The next step? I don't know. Anyways, what's going on with you guys? Fuck this. I'm sure you are all sick of this anyway. I guess you could just surrender in a sense. Just like anything in life, you should keep pushing through and adapt to whatever changes happen with love. Yeah, I agree for the most part. Unless it's something that's just really fundamentally wrong, then I would fight against. But this is something that I don't feel passionate enough about fighting against, because I can completely understand the other side, you know? Target the hippies. Because we know the truth. That's why they attack us. Yeah, maybe. Tom, what's your take on tripping and during the experience focusing on the external world versus your own internal world, as in a closed-eyed trance? Well, in terms of tripping, well, if you look at the second Hermetic principle, the law of correspondence, as above, so below, so within, so without. So the inner world is a reflection of the outer world and vice versa. And I think with psychedelics, you're just more sensitive to that. I don't even know what I was going with that. And I don't completely understand your question. I was just fucking running with it. Focusing on the internal world versus your own... Oh, right, okay. I think closing your eyes and going into that trance and going within, I think you can go a lot deeper because it's less stimulation. It's like, look at isolation tanks, like the sensory deprivation tanks, how you go on that tank filled with salt water, completely shut out from all sound and light. And then your brain, after a while, when it doesn't have stimulation, it starts, doing its own thing. So maybe it's a similar thing with psychedelic, no? Hippie Holocaust, 2018, yeah. YouTube is how I educated myself on safe tripping. Without them, I wouldn't have ever known about test kits. Yeah, true. What? I'm the same. I've learnt more from YouTube than everything. All the courses, university, school that I've done. Yeah, I've definitely learnt a lot from YouTube. For sure. And to be honest, I don't think that YouTube is against drug education. It's just the glorification of drugs, which I agree. I don't think you should promote or encourage drug use. Like, people do enough drugs as it is. In fact, people use more drugs these days than they ever have in history. And we have more drugs than ever before. So it's like, I don't think we need more encouragement to try these things. So from that point of view, I completely understand. But if it's clearly, and I mean clearly, a harm reduction video, and it's quite obvious that it's not promoting anything, then yeah, it should be fine. I wonder what going to a sensory deprivation tank on psychs would be like. They just trip and get into bad situations, really. Oh, I feel like all my real trips have been from closing eyes, and that's where the true self-actualization comes from. But some people never do that. They just trip and get into bad situations, really. Yeah. I suppose, but I also don't believe you can reach true self-actualization from psychedelics. Because it's like, the best case scenario that psychedelics can give you is like a glimpse of the divine, or a glimpse of the potential of where you could be. I think that's absolute best case scenario. Because at the end of the day, psychedelics do amplify your ego. So I believe that the whole psychedelic experience is a purely egoic experience. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because ego is awareness at the end of the day. So as long as you've got a singular point of view, as long as you're a human, you're always going to have an ego, and psychedelics aren't gonna change that. So I don't think this is why there has never been a person in history who's ever gotten enlightened from psychedelics, and I don't think you can reach one's potential from a psychedelic trip. You can't escape the hard work. Like I said, the best case scenario is it can give you a glimpse of what it might be like to be self-actualized, but you still got to do the fucking hard work. There's no escaping it. And I think it's just because we're all lazy. Oh, thanks for the tip, Charlotte. I think it's because we're just all lazy and we ties it. But yeah, I would probably just put full focus into that, and it would be a good opportunity for me to just break into something else. I don't want to get into too much detail here, because I know that sharing your goals without even taking action, I'm still in the planning phase, you're just going to take away from that, because silence is actually a very powerful tool. And I've done this because I'm naturally a yapper. I just blah 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 blah. I just fucking talk shit. So since my existential crisis, I've learned to keep quiet on a few things because it's important. But anyways, to your question, regarding your question, I would go through other avenues, but I would still continue my purpose and what I'm here to do, because I've come to realize that YouTube isn't my primary purpose, like making videos and content. I think it will be like the complement of what I do, or like YouTube will be the main platform that will promote my brand, and then so I can do other things. So maybe it's a blessing. I think it would be a blessing in disguise, actually, if my channel got deleted. At least I won't have to worry about all of this shit, and I could just like, oh, cool. Because it's really hard to let go of a channel that you've worked so hard for. You know what I mean? Like it's been like almost 3.5 years since I started my channel, and it's very, very difficult. It's very difficult to let go. So maybe my channel being deleted will be like the universe's way of ripping that band-aid off and like, all right, come on, man, do something else. Great point. I think it does give you a bit of a clean slate to build on. It does help people kick smoking cigarettes, help depression, more grateful. Yeah, but only to some people. That's the thing. I would argue that the vast majority, but it's not even psychedelics. I think it's just people. People are dumb, most of them, me included, right? And I think the vast majority of people who use psychedelics don't actually get help by them. I honestly believe that. I think if you do it in the right setting, you prepare for it, you take it seriously, blah, 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 blah. But then you got to think, what percentage of people actually do the preparation, actually do the real fucking work, who actually do the integration? I don't know what that number is, but I would say it's fucking minuscule. But I don't know, you what do you guys think? And it can help people kick bad habits and beat depression and blah, 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 blah. But I don't think it's a psychedelic. Like I said, it's the psychedelic giving them a potential of what they could be, or giving them a new perspective, but those people chose to integrate those lessons in their life afterwards. If they didn't do that, they never would have quit smoking cigarettes or, alleviating their depression or being more grateful in life. They chose to do the work. Thank you, John Wick. John Wick, nice name. Psychedelics are more or less like the tools and materials, but a house isn't ever built by itself. Yeah, exactly. I would say that psychedelics are almost like a portal gun, like in Rick and Morty. But each trip that you take, you just don't know what portal it's going to open up. It could be some ridiculous fucking ass-fighting realm that makes no sense whatsoever, or it could be a portal into your potential future. It could be anything. It could be a portal into fucking aliens. It could be a spiritual realm. But yeah, I think it's like the bridge between portals, not the portal itself, if that makes sense. Why do you think so many psychedelic users commit to sobriety? And is there usefulness in continuing the use of mind-altering substance after enlightenment? You can't, like I said, you cannot, by the very nature, be enlightened by psychedelics. It is literally impossible. I say this because people seem to confuse a powerful mystical experience and enlightenment. Enlightenment isn't reaching nirvana and fucking seeing spiritual entities and getting blasted out of your ego. That's not enlightenment. Enlightenment is just really being non-resistant and being with the flow of life. And it's actually really, 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 really subtle. Just look at any spiritual master that gets to that stage. You know, they're not fucking seeing fractals constantly all the time and all this kind of stuff. I don't think so anyway. Like, I'm not enlightened, so I wouldn't know. And I've done many psychedelics. But no, you can't be enlightened from psychedelics. It is literally impossible. And I think that's why we got to define words. Like, there's a difference between enlightenment and having a mystical experience. Do you believe in enlightenment? Yes, but not in the way that people may think. Like, I don't think that enlightenment is you're happy all the time, you know? I think it's just a shedding off the ego and really letting go of blocked emotions. And again, I'm just going from what I think enlightenment is, because, again, I'm not enlightenment, so asking me is, yeah, I'm not going to give you a good answer. What I do believe, anyway, is that it is a very, very subtle thing. It's not a... Because, and remember, enlightenment, a part of being enlightened, for sure, is being depolarized, right? Being in the middle ground, not being too manic, but not going through too much pain. So I think psychedelics, because by their nature they're so freaking extreme, the pendulum has to swing the other way eventually. So yeah, I think Buddhism talks about it, actually, the enlightened path, which is the middle path, the middle way, being in the middle of both extremes, which includes pain and pleasure. Is the psychedelic experience real? Is what I experience reality? Your subjective... Well, like I said, psychedelics amplifies your state of consciousness, which is literally your ego. So it amplifies your ego. It doesn't make it any less profound by any means. Definitely not. The ego is fucking... has a lot of good parts. I think we give the ego too much shit. It's got a lot of good parts about it as well. As long as you're human, you're never going to get rid of your ego. The best case scenario is just to have a healthy relationship with your ego. And I think by the very nature of trying to kill your ego, which is what the psychedelic experience seems to do temporarily, which is just ego, again, because you're not killing your ego, it ends up just backlashing, coming back stronger and more intelligent. But is it real? Well, yeah, it's real. Subjectively real. Objective? Does it with like some objective truth? No. I don't think so. Definitely not. The word psychedelic, literally means mind manifesting. So it's within your own mind. But that doesn't mean that it's found. Like, I'm not knocking it for saying that. But yeah. Who or what is having a relationship with an ego? Well, accepting. It's like a part of it is look at the concept of Carl Jung embodying the shadow, like grading those ugly parts about yourself, which a lot of us try, separate ourselves from, which creates a lot of fragmentation. And I think having a healthy relationship with an ego is accepting all those parts of yourself and integrating it in everyday life. Because we're not just one personality; we are many, 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 many different types of personality. I think the problem is we tend to see the ego as an enemy, but it could be called a type of obstacle. What would be a good approach to the ego? Well, what I just mentioned. I think what encapsulates what I'm trying to say is the concept of embodying the shadow. So yeah, I'll check out Carl Jung. How do you explain DMT being more real than real? Yeah, that's the ego attaching to a mystical experience and sweeping this reality under the rug because it's so ugly, scary, and dark. So of course, we like to think that the DMT realm is more real than real, because this world seems to be... There's a lot of pain and suffering that comes with being a human being, and comes with being bounded by time and space, and being in this physical dimension. So of course our egos, if it has the chance to believe that this reality isn't real, it's going to take that, because it's painful. Like, if this reality was like the most amazing, blissful nirvana experience ever, and drugs, that no drug or substance can get you higher than that, then we would not be saying that. I think that literally the only reason we're saying that this reality is an illusion is because it's so painful, and we don't want to accept that this is fucking real. Yeah, I would say that. So yeah, the DMT realm is not more real than real. It's just a different type of reality. And it sucks, because the reality is that there's a lot of harsh truths in this reality, and it's easier to sweep it under the rug and say that another reality is real. But I would say that I would go as far as to say that in terms of being from a human being's point of view, this reality is the most realist thing that you will ever experience in your life. That's why we're here. Because I think people tend to go from like the absolute perspective, the God perspective, where, yeah, you're right, this is all an illusion, this is all meaningless, everything's one and the same, blah, 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 blah. But from a human's relative experience, you know, where we're bounded by time and space, it's very fucking real. Extremely real. And we remember that we're not, it's the paradox, you know, because we're like infinite beings having a human experience, but there are certain natural laws in this physical dimension that we have to abide by, otherwise we're going to get fucking hurt. And this happens all the time, like with people, like if you want to believe that this reality is just a dream, it's all meaningless, it's all an illusion, then that's what your life is going to be. You're going to be wandering around in circles, having absolutely no progress in your life, and then eventually you're going to fall and hurt yourself via a rude awakening, because life is going to force you to fucking wake up. And it's like, remember that you're human? Yeah. Remember pain and suffering? Yeah, it's actually a really real thing. You can't just ignore it, mate. Kind of thing. If you consider psychedelic reality not real, no, I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying that it's not realer than this reality. It's both. It just depends on what perspective you're looking at it. I'm looking at it through a human lens, which I am, so. How can you connect the experiences with objective reality? What value do psychedelics have then? Objective reality. But then I would argue that it depends on what you're like, you know what I mean? Like, let's say if I'm a quantum physicist, right? And I studied this my whole life. Of course, when I do a psychedelic experience, it's going to allow me to understand that realm better because I've already built the foundation. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you have zero foundation built, then I believe that the psychedelic experience would literally just be nonsense. I think the only reason that we connect to objective reality is because we do the homework beforehand. We build the foundations within our own mind, and psychedelics help you to integrate that knowledge into wisdom. And that's their value, I think. But it doesn't work without the preparation and the integration. Otherwise, it will just be random noise in your brain, I reckon. I honestly think that. Truth is stranger and more painful than fiction. Our reality is the objective one. I don't think this normal reality is the real one. Out of thousands of possible perspectives you can view reality, we are convinced our reality is the objective one. Yeah, but again, from an objective, from a absolute point, yeah, you're right. There's probably fucking infinite possibilities. We don't really know that, but okay, from what we understand from quantum physics, I think they believe that there's infinite possibilities and blah, 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 blah. And that's all true, but we're in this specific timeline, so it's real to us, and we have to treat it like it's real. Otherwise, you're going to get fucked up, period. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that this reality is real necessarily from every sense of the word, but I am saying that it's the most relevant reality to us, and we have to treat it as if it is the most real thing that we can experience. You guys, am I guys, blah, 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 blah. Am I making sense to you guys? Cheers, tactic of trip, blah 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 blah. It won't harm you if you don't have mental issues. Just don't do it as a party drug. See, this is a poor advice, because saying that psychedelics won't harm you if you don't have mental issues. Well, first of all, wouldn't you argue that every single human being on this planet has some degree of mental health issues? Like, you know what I mean? And we're really good at convincing ourselves, like, yeah, I'm level-headed, I'm sweet, and blah, blah, blah. And you could just be one fracture away from going into a psychosis. So you don't know that, I guess, was what I'm trying to say. Yes, you are, Tom. Do you think Jesus was real? As in a real person? I don't know what it says within the Bible itself. It says that it was all parables and what's the other, allegories. Which, in my opinion, because a lot of people think that, oh, because it's a metaphor, because it's fiction, because it's this, it's not as valid. I would argue that it's even that much more valid. The fact that, because the human psyche, particularly the unconscious mind, which dictates the vast majority of our lives, loves symbols, loves uh, metaphors, parables. That's how it understands it. It understands things through story. Now, do I think that Jesus was real? I don't know. I guess I wasn't there. I don't think it really matters, though, because I think what he represented is very powerful and can help a lot of people. What do you think the youngest age is to try DMT? 25, I would say. I dropped at 9:40. Okay, you're making me so woke right now. What? Okay. I'm just my monkey mind's just spouting bullshit right now, but okay, if I knew woke. Sweet. What philosophy or religion would you consider closest to the approach you have on your existence at the moment? Hermeticism, I would say. Yeah. That's the one that I'm really vibing with, and certain parts of Christianity as well. This is especially the teachings of Jesus. Yeah, so it'd be that. There's a few actually. So it's a mixture of Hermeticism, Buddhism, Hinduism, I suppose, and Christianity. Those are like my four. And that's that I've never read the Bible in my life. It's just a few things that I know about it. It's fucking profound, dude. Yeah. Tom, my friend got dosed and he was put in hospital today. It triggered schizophrenia. Fuck, man. I really hope he gets better. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that about your friend, man. That sucks. Do you think the Illuminati is trying to stop these messages about psychedelics? No, I don't think so. Because remember that, and I'm not saying this absolute, because like I said, psychedelics amplify your state of consciousness. It amplifies your ego. So if you're deluded, psychedelics will literally just make you more deluded. And if you're already on the spiritual path, then it may make you more, I don't even want to say it, that's fucking so egoic, isn't it? It'll make you more spiritual. Just that by in and of itself it can't be. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think they're trying to stop messages about psychedelics. I don't think it's the Illuminati. I actually think it was just parents, because the government doesn't dictate how society is. It follows what the common trend is, and it could be a part of it for sure, because psychedelics are very profound and very dangerous to conventional thinking. So I think that's definitely a big part of it. But I also think another part is that parents just got freaked out, and from the whole epidemic of people going through a drug-induced psychosis in the 60s, that it's terrifying. Like if you guys have ever seen someone who's gone through a drug-induced psychosis, or if you've ever seen someone who's gotten their life and livelihood ruined forever from just one psychedelic trip, it's fucking scary. So that could be a massive, massive, massive part of it as well. So I'm not sure. Our most consistent reality. I like that. Yeah, exactly. The main thing I take from Jesus is the power of God is within and not within stone and wood buildings. Something like, yeah, for sure. Like the kingdom of heaven is within. So you got to open your heart. Yeah, for sure. Have you read the theories of the apple of Eden and original sin being a parable of the origin of duality? Yeah. So when they ate from the tree of knowledge, right, the apple, then they started to have self-awareness. They have this ego, and then they entered into this dualistic realm. I don't know too much about it. I actually want to interview someone who's an expert on that. I think that will be much more interesting. So me just explaining will be like, I'm just completely gone from fucking ignorance, because I don't know. But from what I do know, yeah, it is the origin of duality, for sure. And it's the earliest story on paper that explains it, actually, which is fucking crazy. Did you ever try salvia? No, never will. I wasn't on a spiritual path. I took mushrooms without much research for the first time. Me and my best friend had the most spiritual trip I've ever had. Would you call a spiritual path just an individual delusion, part of the ego? Yeah, for sure, definitely. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I guess... I don't know. I think what I would define the spiritual path, from what I understand, is really just integrating your humanness. And it's like what Buddhism talks about, the middle path. It's being in the middle of both extremes. So I don't think that being a Tibetan monk and living in a monastery your whole life is necessarily spiritual. I think you can even look at it as selfish and escaping from this reality. So, but I don't know. I'm just fucking riffing on some thoughts here. I think, and maybe that's the problem, is that I'm using my mind, so it's already like, I think it's important to have one foot in the matrix and one foot in somewhere else. I don't know. There is no middle path. I think it's a myth. Yeah, but it's a. I think there is a middle path. It's just, I don't think you can hit perfect equilibrium constantly, because remember, we live in a polarizing world where the pendulum is constantly going to be swinging. So the best case scenario is that you can somewhat reach the middle where the swings aren't too extreme. But you can't stay stagnant, otherwise you wouldn't exist. There's literally no such thing as stagnant energy. Everything is in motion, which is the third Hermetic principle, law of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates, which is a scientific fact now, which is pretty cool, you know? That's cool, because the 7 Hermetic principles was written before Christianity, actually, which is really cool. And I'm not saying just because it's older means it's more profound, but it's just interesting how the 7 Hermetic principles are... I don't know if they're all scientifically proven now, but I would say the vast majority of them are. I like it, because it's like it's a spiritual text, but it has a lot of logic, and it satisfies the rational part of my brain, because I'm naturally more of a scientific, skeptic kind of thinker, which is probably the reason why I have been depressed so many times in my life. As above, so below. Yeah, exactly. Law of correspondence. Why will you never try salvia? I am aware of its terrifying reports, but too curious. Because I've just moved, and I'm not saying that like, oh, I'm better. I moved past that phase of my life, but it's like I'm no longer curious about trying a new substance because it's gonna, open up this new realm to me. In fact, I've been punished heavily for being that curious cat and opening every fucking door that I see. I'm like, ooh, what's behind this door? Ooh, this door looks scary. Let's see what's in here. Because the problem is, once you open up a door, you can never close it, ever. And you're never, ever, ever, ever going to be the same person. And that is the curse of knowledge, right? And it comes with the law of polarity. There is a price for everything in life. So maybe gaining too much knowledge, especially too quick and when you're not ready for it, can be extremely terrifying. And I think that's why a lot of people go into psychosis, because they encounter very ugly truths about themselves and reality that they just weren't fucking ready for. It's like telling a 6-year-old kid that, and going into depth about existentialism and explaining about their mortality and all that kind of stuff. Do you think that 6-year-old kid is going to be able to handle that? I think that could be traumatizing in and of itself. Like opening Pandora's box to a fucking 6-year-old. And and I think in terms of spiritual growth or intelligence, some people, like, just because you're old, it doesn't mean that you're mature. You know what I mean? So, but I would not try salvia. No, I have no reason to. Hey Tom, have you integrated your ibogaine experience? I know there's plenty of trauma behind that door. Uh, Not completely. Most of it, yeah. I would say most. And I'm not just saying this out of ego, like, oh yeah, I'm mostly cured from it. And when I say mostly, I mean like, I don't know, maybe like 80%, I guess. But no, there's still parts of it that was a very traumatic experience. And plus, you got to think of the ayahuasca nightmare trip I had as well. So, yeah, there's definitely some healing to do. I'm not completely over it. No, no, definitely not. I've learnt a lot from it though. I feel like during a trip, anytime a fear comes up, I can either resist it, then it becomes terrible, but as soon as I accept it, it becomes positive. Yeah, I completely agree, but sometimes psychedelics can uh, put something up to the surface that no matter how much you try, you physically, and like you literally cannot accept it. And that's what happens to some people. Thoughts of Christ consciousness or the collective unconscious? Christ consciousness. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like this whole Christ consciousness thing is some new age bullshit. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm just very wary from anything that comes from the new age. Because of... Look at the law of polarity. All truths are half-truths, right? Beware of half-truths. And I think that the new age doctrine only shows one side of the coin. And by purposely sweeping the other side of the coin under the rug, it can be extremely dangerous and just contributes to more ignorance, which I think is the root of all sin. And if you look at the word sin, it means to miss the mark, right? Which literally stems from ignorance, which stems evil, which stems pain and suffering. So I actually think that the New Age movement is an evil ideology. And not, because I know when people say evil, it's like, oh, okay, some religious nut, blah, blah, blah. No, when I say evil, if you really go to the foundation of it, it's ignorance. And which ultimately spreads more pain and suffering. And that's not on. And this is a problem with these days. We live in a very politically correct society where people's feelings are more important than the truth, which is fucked up. Even the belief system of thinking like, oh, but if I believe it, it's true, or like, you know, your belief systems create your reality. And like it does, of course, to a certain extent, but it doesn't change objective reality. Like if I all of a sudden don't want to believe in, I don't know, cold or hot, doesn't mean it's not going to exist. Or if I don't want to believe in gravity, if I walk over a cliff, I'm still going to fall. That's still an objective reality that applies to all human beings on Earth. And when you ignore fundamental truths of what it is to be a human, things can get really fucking sticky. And that's why I don't agree when people say things like good and evil doesn't exist. And it's like, yeah, from an absolute point, right, it's all one and the same. I agree with you, but you're a human being bounded by time and space, having a relative experience where good and evil are very real fucking phenomena. Saying good and evil doesn't exist is literally like saying hot and cold doesn't exist, right? But if I put my hand in a boiling pot of water, it is going to burn the fuck out of my hand, and my life is literally going to get worse. It's going to contribute more pain and suffering. And same thing with good and evil. There are light forces and dark forces. And I think if you completely ignore it, this is what creates more fragmentation. It's like ignoring imagine if you just ignore the shadow part of yourself. And like, you know what? I don't believe in the shadow. I don't believe in negative personality traits, right? So then every time this stuff tries to come up, you just, I'm just going to sweep it under the rug. I'm just going to be Mr. Positive all the time. And that creates, oh man, extremely dangerous, man. Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more. About what? Was your suicidal attitude on your last ayahuasca trip a result of not being able to process the literal paradox that life is, or did it come from elsewhere? It's hard to pinpoint exactly why that happened. A lot of time has passed, and I think that it was repressed emotions that my ego wasn't ready to deal with. So I think it's something personal within myself, which of course is related to the totality of reality, sure, but I think it's something more personal, like a trauma or something, you know. Ego is Satan. Okay, I'll have to meditate on that. Do you believe in karma? Yes. Only what is not real needs to be believed. I don't need to believe in my bike to ride it. What is not? I don't need to believe in my bike to ride it. But yes, you do, because belief systems aren't just have to do with your conscious reality. Your subconscious, your unconscious, the part that creates the vast majority of your reality, believes that this is a bike and I can ride it. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. You physically wouldn't fucking do it. So yeah, that's still a belief system, dude. Belief system, if anything, are more embedded within our unconscious mind. So no, I wouldn't agree with that. You need to believe in your bike to ride it. Otherwise, you wouldn't ride it. Period. It's impossible. Dive deeper, bro. I can see how it has reshaped many of your views. Recall the principle of correspondence from the Kabbalion. Aleister Crowley taught the New Age, essentially. Yeah. Do you think we exist in a physical space in the universe, or do we just the dreams of a god or entity? Well, look at the fourth. God damn it! The fourth Hermetic principle, the law of polarity. All truths are half truths, right? So within your question, you're saying, do we exist in a physical space, or are we dreams of a god or entity? It's literally both. From an absolute point, yeah, this is all a dream where, spiritual beings having a human experience and everything's happening at the same time, blah, 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 and all the New Age fucking bullshit you hear. But from a relative human experience, yeah, no shit, we exist in a physical reality. And even though, because technically there's no such thing as physical matter. That is literally an illusion, but I'm not going to be able to put my finger through this cup fucking hard I try. Because we're bounded by time and space, so this is real to us, and we treat it as if it's fucking real. That's the paradoxes, and all paradoxes can be reconciled by just understanding this, that everything is and isn't, but you just got to be careful on the absolute perspective versus the relative perspective, because a lot of spirituality is based on believing only the absolute perspective and forgetting about the human part, which again, during our time here, right, until you die, the relative human experience is going to be a lot more real than the absolute. You can connect to the absolute all you want, but you're always going to be tethered by this reality, is what I'm saying, right? So you can be the most enlightened guru on the face of the planet, but if I fucking stab you in the leg, you're still going to feel that pain and suffering, because you're still a human being. I don't even know why I'm even saying this, but yeah, some of you guys know what I'm saying. Tom, you've been holding up great, but the way that one stumped you for a second killed me. There is no cup, lol. Yeah, from an absolute, but from a human experience, there is a cup. Separation is an illusion. Yeah. Because pain is real. You do not need to believe it. What's your take on the theory that psychedelics open up your mind to demonic influence? For sure it can. And then again, you got to define demonic or demons. Because a lot of people get turned off by religious terminology. But I think that, let's say in a more rational kind of way, let's say that demons are intense thought forms that lack light, that lack love, It's things that are based in scarcity, fear, hatred, greed, ignorance, which all stems from lack, or stems from ignorance. It stems from lack of knowledge. So can psychedelics open you up to demonic realms and then have those negative influences influence your life thereafter? Yeah, of course. It happens all the time. And this is why I preach all the time about building your foundations before you get into that realm. Because if you have mental health issues, if you don't understand the nature of ego, if you don't have the proper, if you don't make the proper research, and you've got a lot of problems in your life, and you're deluded, you're mentally unstable, you're physically unfit, because the physical body is just as important as the mental. They're intricately connected. And if you've got all these things that aren't covered, then of course when you open up these psychedelic realms, it's more likely going to open you up to negative influences. And sometimes you can go into contact with some love and light being, but how do you know? It could be a fucking demonic entity being like, all right, so this guy is obviously has no idea what the fuck he's doing, and as long as I dress up in this nice white cloak, he's going to think I'm a good guy. So I'm going to share with him some half-truths, and he's going to believe it. And, who knows? I'm just riffing. This could be complete bullshit, but deception is definitely a very real force in the universe, so I don't think it's that far-fetched, actually. Tom, Bible says Satan masquerades as an angel of light, so couldn't good entities be evil? Well, it's so trippy that you said that literally as I just pretty much said that. So couldn't good entities be evil? Yeah, 100%. And I know, because I used to be a fucking evil motherfucker when I was younger, and what did I do? I pretended I was good. That's what that's what fucking Satan does. Yeah, of course. Definitely. It's smart, man. It's like, what are you gonna do? Like, if you're an evil motherfucker and you're smart about it, are you gonna be some low-life criminal, or are you gonna work your way into office? Be a politician, maybe work within the bank, work within the system, so you appear to be like, hey man, I'm a functioning member of society, and I'm all good. But underneath, you're a evil, pedophile, sadistic fuck. So it makes sense. It's just the smart thing to do. Like, I'm just stepping in the shoes of someone who's incredibly evil, because I would say that I was a lot in, not evil, but I had definitely a lot of evil parts that I didn't integrate within myself. So I know the mentality goes behind these things, and you look at the law of correspondence, as above so below. So just the fact that humans can be like this, of course it's going to translate into the spirit realm, because they're all reflections. So in other words, just the very fact that there is deception that exists in this world automatically means that there's deception in the spiritual world. So to me, it kind of makes logical sense. But how do you know what's good, what's bad? I don't know. Some people say that if you ask them, some people say that demons aren't allowed to lie, but that sounds like something that a demon would have said. No, we can't lie. So I don't know. I have no fucking idea, man. Just riffing. I feel like people who have taken psychedelics hold much more intelligent conversations than people who choose alcohol or other drugs. No, yeah. Because psychedelics are usually mind expanding, whereas alcohol is a depressant that lowers your inhibition. Yeah, for sure. But being intelligent doesn't necessarily mean that you're happier. In fact, I would say the more intelligent you are, the more depressed you are, because the more you realize how dark of a world we live in, kind of thing. But I guess that's why it's important to have balance of your mental state, your intelligence. Well, because there's so many types of intelligence, but your logical and linguistic intelligence, but also be balanced with your physical body, your heart, your purpose, your meaning, the things that don't make sense to the rational mind. And because everything that I'm talking about now, it's all through the filter of my mind, which is only half the picture. And even if you look at it, it's so true, like all truths are half-truths. Look at our fucking brain. They're literally two hemispheres. So everything is going to be dualistic, no matter what we do. Everything's going to have a polar opposite. Everything is going to be true or not true. Just by the very design of our human brains. How do you think people's behaviors in the world in general would be if psychedelics were legal everywhere? Again, law of polarity. With every good comes an equal amount of bad. So yeah, sure, that people will be more open-minded and kinder, I hope. But there will probably be a epidemic of drug-induced psychosis, probably. I believe that most people aren't fit to have psychedelic experiences. So if it was more legal and more open, again, it will be good and bad. That's really like everything in life. It's like technology, every technology that has been incredible to mankind has been equally as destructive in the long term, but just from something else. Like there's a price for everything. Favorite psychedelic for spiritual healing benefits for yourself, Tom? Oxygen. Yeah, breath. Are you scared of the truth at all, Tom? Whatever it may be. Oh, fuck, I don't know. I guess I'm afraid that the absolute truth is terrifying. It could be like really ugly. I don't know. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I guess. Well, I've gone this far though. I can't stop now. Not like we'll ever get to an absolute truth anyway. I think you can have an experience of absolute truth, but you'll never be able to convey it, because again, as soon as you speak, as soon as you perceive something through the mind, it's always going to be a half truth. It's literally impossible to perceive absolute truth. But I think you can feel it from the heart, from the soul, connect with the divine, but you'll never be able to articulate it to someone else. So yeah, in other words, I think you can have an experience of the absolute truth, but you'll never, ever, 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 ever be able to write it on a piece of paper, Like E equals MC squared. Boom, absolute truth. Nah, as soon as you speak in the form of language or put something down on paper, there is going to be a paradox, there's going to be a contradiction, it's going to be a half-truth, period. Psychedelics legalized equals New World Order. Oh fuck yeah! See, this is what worries me, because like you just look at weed being legalized. It's like you think it's a good thing, and it is in many ways. But then corporations having control over weed, it's not going to be like organic. They're going to control it. There's always going to be something. That's the thing. I don't fucking know. Have you ever taken psychedelics in the dark room by yourself? Yes, many times. Our senses trick us from reality. Do you consider that quote true? Yeah, well, if you it tricks us from absolute reality, but our senses are the reasons why we can survive in this human experience. So yeah, if you're relating reality to absolute reality, then yeah, of course, because you could say that time's an illusion, doesn't exist, and blah 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 blah. But time is very real to the human experience, at least psychological time. Tom, I find it impossible to have bad trips. I can literally go into a haunted house on acid and have a great time. Is there something wrong with me? Well, wrong is a judgment of the mind, but is it weird? Yeah, very very strange. Yeah, for sure. Seek and you shall find. Yes, exactly. Thanks for hosting this chat, Tom, and your content really enjoy it. And oxygen is not counted as psychedelic. Laugh myself. Would you consider half a 1/8 shroom trip? Like the only time I'd even consider having a trip would be like, yeah, maybe a very low shroom trip with my girlfriend, but not really. I'm never gonna go. Well, here I go with the fucking absolute and the ego, but there's a very high chance that I'm never gonna have a heavy psychedelic trip again. Then maybe you aren't scared of ghosts and demons and more of yourself. Well, the most important advice you can give to a person is this: Boof, Braytom for eternity, while the Egyptian pyramid watches it all from the sacred purple eye. I'm confused. Maybe I'm not enlightened enough to understand that. You seem to be turned off on tripping, but do it for yourself and heal honestly. All my shroom trips at that dose have been very stable, manageable. Yeah, but like for now, I guess it's that bit of fear, and of course I still have fear surrounding it, of course. But I would be literally a fucking retarded dickhead if I wasn't afraid of psychedelics after my personal experiences with it. So of course I'm gonna have fear around it. I'm just afraid that it's like, even if it's like one small trip, that it could just put me over the edge. Because I did go over the edge for a while actually with a boga. So. And I guess what made it particularly scary was the absolute crystal clear, lucid lens that I was perceiving that trip through. And that's what's really scary, but really profound about iboga, is that your mental state is actually very sober. Whereas with ayahuasca, shrooms, and any other psychedelic, your thoughts are distorted. Whereas this one, it didn't feel like my thoughts were distorted. Like, yeah, sure, my visions, the feelings, and all that kind of stuff were. I was tapping else, but my thoughts were very clear. And that's what made it so terrifying, because I was like, I was in the middle of this collective hell of humanity, I suppose, whatever you want to call it, with such a clear lens. And that's what, yeah, that's the part that fucked me up. Have you seen an ego death? Yeah. I don't believe ego death exists. I think it's a myth. Like, the only way that you can truly have ego death, literally the only way you can possibly have ego death is if you die, and then you won't be able to come back to tell the tale. And that's the cosmic joke, isn't it? Don't you think sometimes that everything is meaningless and that we lack the capacity of understanding the absurdity of experience? But yeah, again, from an absolute point, yeah, it is all meaningless, all happening at the same time. But you can assign meaning into your own life. And I think it's actually very important for your own sanity to find your own meaning, your own purpose. Have you ever revealed your scariest experience? I have, but I left out a lot of details. So eventually I will. I want to do even Adam interviewed me about it, but I could go a lot deeper into how horrific it was. About I had a nightmare trip, and I would like to do it with my girlfriend one day, because she was there, so it'd be interesting to get her perspective. It's a matter of time, you'll know when you're ready, if ever. Yeah, exactly. How many girlfriends do you have? 50 million. Damn, interesting, wow. You'll do psychedelics again, you just need some years to understand and integrate your trips. Maybe. I don't know, because it's weird. Like, the more time passes, the more turned off I get from psychedelics. It's weird. Because I know by the very nature they can be very deceiving. And because the experience can feel so real, realer than reality, right, as a lot of people say, I feel like it gives my ego too much of an opportunity to just jump to another ideology, to another belief system, and just put on a different mask and strengthen my ego and just delude me further. That's really what I'm worried about. And I think fundamentally psychedelics can never show you absolute truth. They'll always be, they'll amplify your state of consciousness. I'm not saying that the insights you get is not going to be valid, because it's within your own mind. So in terms, from a healing modality, yeah, they can be very profound, and I still believe in that capacity. But in terms of spiritual growth, I think it's a trap. Personally, I don't think that you can really spiritually grow per se from a psychedelic experience. I mean, hang on, let me put it. I don't think that a psychedelic can help you spiritually grow from the experience itself, but if you integrate the experience, then you can. That's best case scenario. But how many people actually integrate their experiences? I would say the vast majority of them don't. So, I don't know. Unrelated a little bit, but did they smoke spots in Oz like they do here? Do they smoke spots? What's spots? I don't know what you're talking about. Dude, in the Bible, angels and demons are described as beings with eyes all over their body. Have you seen entities like this, akin to Alex Gray artwork? Not particularly. I'm sure I've seen it during my psychedelic experiences, because it's hard to remember it all, but yeah. And again, where there are angels, there are demons. Everything comes with a polar opposite. That's why I'm very weary when it comes to angels and light beings. You know? Do you think it's weird that people like Terence McKenna never stopped using psychs while Alan Watts? Yeah, he did stop. I think he went a little bit insane. It's just for me, like, I'm not knocking people like who do psychedelics, and I really get frustrated when people get frustrated at me for, like, you know, acknowledging the negative side of psychedelics, especially because, like, I've literally dedicated my life to psychedelic education, so I know firsthand what it's like to be overly biased with these things. And what worries me is that I have yet to meet someone who's done a whole bunch of psychedelics and is grounded and centered and present. I've yet to meet that person who do it all the time. Because again, I'm always distinguishing between people who, do psychedelics a handful of times in their life, which I think that it could benefit a lot of people. But I'm specifically talking about the people who just continuously go back to the experience. It seems that they end up being very ungrounded, delusional, and have this perverted view of reality, especially this is all an illusion, this and blah, 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 blah. And they're just clinging on to just one side of the coin, the absolute point, and they're kind of leaving their humanity behind. And I'm just generally speaking. I think the only person who I guess would be grounded and centered, who's done a lot of psychedelics, would be Aubrey Marcus, who's the CEO of Onnit. But then again, he works out like a fucking boss. He's got a multi-million-dollar business and an amazing girlfriend. He's got his shit together, and I believe from what I see from my perspective that he's got not his shit together, because I don't think no one's got their shit together. I guess is a wrong thing to say, but it's like seems to be balanced. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's fit as fuck. He's strong. He's got his business skills down. He's on point with his purpose and his passion. He's got his relationships and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's different. But I think Aubrey Marcus is the perfect example of someone who integrates at least most of his psychedelic experiences, which is very rare. Again, from what I know, he's like the only person who has. But I haven't even met him in real life. But from what a lot of people who have met him say the same thing, though. He's very grounded, he's very centered, he's very present. And I just don't see that. I haven't seen that with anyone else who's gone that far. It definitely took me a while to fucking get back to center. That's why I've been overly focused on being grounded and overly focused on this physical dimension, on this reality, on being human, right? Embodying the shadow. Because I went too far out there. Thinking that, it's all fucking there. Who cares, mate? This isn't even real. That's what I used to believe. Which is the height of ego, really. The height of spiritual ego. Do you think that your state while tripping is skewed? I've shed the ego while tripping and became peace 100%. I don't know. Do you think psychs, in a sense, lift a filter and what you see or experience has validity? Or do you think it is a self-projection or simply a chemical? But that's the thing. It's like as above, so below, right? Just because it's a chemical reaction, that doesn't mean anything. That's just a physical expression of consciousness. So that to me, when someone says it out of their, literally says like, it's just a chemical reaction, I know they're just like, I'm not going to talk to you. Because you're obviously, what do you mean it's just a chemical reaction? Everything is a chemical reaction. Doesn't mean anything. You're just saying words that doesn't mean anything. Well, fuck. Okay, I got a little bit carried away there. But yeah, is it a self-projection? Well, yeah, it is. But that doesn't mean that it's not valid. It doesn't mean that it can give you access to something that is very valid in objective reality. But it's just very difficult to know if it is or isn't. Like the only way you can really know if you can validate it in real life. Or real life. I think you can get as much from one trip as you can from 100. Yeah, you can, but what's the price for that? That's what I'm trying to say. There's always a price. Always a price. When's the last time you had Chang or a DMT? Oh. A year or two ago? 2 years ago, I say. Reality is subjective. Yes and no. Again, law of polarity. I'm going to be preaching this probably until the day I die. All truths are half truths. You literally saying that reality is subjective, by definition, means that reality is also objective. It can't just be one thing. That's one side of the coin. Reality is subjective. Yeah, so, and again, it just depends on whether you're talking from a relative perspective or an absolute perspective. Because it's both. Because, of course, there's objective reality. It's just very hard to know. He's done mostly ayahuasca, and I think Aubrey integrated very well. He's done a boga as well, though. And peyote might he's not at all. I think it's impossible to be sane on psychedelics. The whole point is becoming insane. Yeah. Do you think after you get the message, hang up the phone is less about psychedelics and more referential of knowing enough to just let go and hang up? Yeah, exactly. Hit the nail on the head there. It's not for everyone. Some people can take it a lot better than others. Yeah. But the only thing that I would add to that is that everyone has an ego. Everyone has confirmation biases, cognitive dissonance, have all these ego defense mechanisms like justifications, denial, and want to believe what they want to believe. So you can't really trust people's self-reporting, including myself. That's why I don't believe any of those kind of. That's why I think self-surveys it's not scientific at all. It's better than nothing for sure, but you can't go by someone's word because they might believe in it and it might sound logical and sane, but it could be complete bullshit as well. Now, I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but I think it's safe to say that all humans bullshit themselves, and we want to believe what we want to believe. Do you think you're still integrating from your trips? Yeah, fuck yeah. I think it's going to take me a lifetime to integrate all my trips. What are your thoughts on Kundalini? Yeah, really cool. Did you ever try dissociatives? Yes. What was the name of the mental crisis you had when you took Iboga? What was the name? What do you mean? Like the name of the video? It's both. That's why I say there is no middle path. But that is the middle path, is reconciling both extremes. That's what I mean. That doesn't mean that you can literally just be center for the rest of your life and not budge. I'm not saying that. But there is a middle path. It's something that you should strive for. And like I said, even if it's not real, you should treat it as if it's real, because it's kind of a good rule of thumb. You know what I mean? That way you don't get punished by the law of rhythm and the principle of polarity. There is an objective reality, but it's so out of reach from our relatively simple human minds compared to the universe that we are practically living in. Yeah, exactly. That we are practically living in an illusion. Yeah. Okay, you must have joined late, but yeah, like I said before, it's like, it is an illusion, this reality, but it's not to us. And we should treat it as if it's real, because it is the most real thing that you'll ever experience in your life, period. I would argue that pain and suffering is the realest phenomena that you will ever experience in your life. And that's the dark truth about this reality. Have you ever smoked DMT? Yes, I have. I'm not a fan. For example, is the ant really objective? Is the way an ant perceives reality objective? We humans are no better. We are in an illusion. Okay. Well, I don't know if you joined late, but I've already talked about it too much. I don't want to bore everybody else if I haven't already. Patience is key starting out DMT. When I smoked DMT, I was terrified. Best books you recommend, just with the best information in your opinion. One of the best books that I've ever read in my life is actually Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism, which really goes into depth of outlining spiritual traps, how the ego uses spiritual practices to strengthen itself, goes through like the Four Noble Truths, breaks down enlightenment, and it's in a very amazing fucking way. It's not just some new age spiritual airy fairy fluff bullshit. It's actually really practical and very grounded and centered. So yeah, it's definitely changed my life, and I listen to it over and over. It's one of those books I'm just going to listen to over and over and over and over again for the rest of my life. So check it out. Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism. What's another one? The Kabbalion, right? Get into Hermeticism. That's really profound. What's another book? Mastery by Robert Greene, I'll always put up there. Even Tools of Time by Tim Ferriss. It's a good compilation of all the best wisdom from his podcast. Really good. Anything by Tony Robbins is pretty good. What else? Oh, we'll go from there. I don't know. What book? I'm gonna write it down. Cutting through spiritual materialism. If you want to be extra kind, you can go on my description box on any of my videos and click on my Amazon affiliate link. That way I can get a dollar or two commission. It's a good uni, man, and yeah, shroom season kind of soon. Hopefully it's getting cold. Yeah, I found lots of shrooms actually the other day. It's like, I thought you don't take shrooms, Tom. I don't. I just, I still like picking though. It's fun. Like going out into nature, picking mushrooms. Even though I just throw them away afterwards anyway, it doesn't really matter. A lot of trippers must, it must hurt knowing that I'm finding all these mushrooms and throwing them away. Who gives a fuck? They grow everywhere. Couldn't immense love and euphoria be the most real experience you can experience as well? Yeah, maybe that's the... the reason why I say pain and suffering is so real, is the most real experience you'll ever have, is because that is what is... That's like the ticket price of even being human. You know what I mean? Like, for example, you can go your whole life without ever feeling love and euphoria, but you can't go throughout your life without feeling pain and suffering. That's what I mean. It's the most real, because... But when I say real, it's something that is consistent and verifiable by every single human being that has ever lived on the face of Earth. Doesn't matter what your belief systems are, what culture you come from, what language you speak, we can all agree that pain and suffering is very real. And in my opinion, I think love is the most real thing there ever was and ever will be, but not everyone comes to that conclusion, you know? Tom's secretly saving them up. I don't think so. So yeah, I get what you're saying, and I think from a spiritual point of view, yeah, love is the realest thing there ever was and ever will be. I agree. I'm talking from a human experience. I think pain and suffering is, and just from the consistency. Love and pain are two sides. No, pleasure and pain are two sides of the same coin. That's the difference. Pleasure and pain are two sides of the same coin. Love, what's the opposite of love? Evil? Love spelled backwards is evil, which sounds like evil. Maybe there's some symbology there. Maybe I'm just making up shit in my head. Bit of column A, bit of column B, I suppose. Yeah, I don't think pain is the opposite of love, though. No, that would be pleasure. And pleasure is very real. Like, you know what I mean? You can... I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. What is life? Opposite of love. Well, if love is... I haven't thought about the opposite of love, though. Could be ignorance. Could be evil. Could be hate. Hate? Hatred is opposite of love. But then you got to break down, though, what does hatred come from? This is what I mean. Like, I think good and evil is like the foundation of pretty much everything. So, like, hatred comes down to ignorance, scarcity, lack of awareness, which stems from evil, which stems from ignorance, you know? So, I think anything like hatred, scarcity, all the stuff fundamentally stems from evil, which fundamentally stems from ignorance. I've never experienced hatred, I think. Oh, yeah. Like, I'm not even capable of hating another human being. And I'm not even saying that, like, oh, because I'm so spiritual. I'm just saying that because I've experienced collective humanity, that now I see every human being as, like, yeah, you're just me living another life. Doesn't mean that I'm going to let me, of course not. But true hate, nah, I haven't felt that in fucking years. But I used to a lot. Like, I genuinely fucking hated people. It was fucking crazy. But maybe that's what got me here today, right? Is that I was in such a dark place that I use it as a springboard to get where I am today. It's still got a lot of work, though. Do you believe that life can be boiled down to either love or fear? Yeah. Well, it's like you could say love and fear, order and chaos, good and evil. Same shit. So I think good, love. Even look at good. What stems from the word good? God. Just takes out one O. And then evil. Just put a D in the front. Devil. God, devil. Polar opposites. But yeah, no, I do think life can be boiled down to something like that, sure. You can use whatever word you want to use. But I think that, for example, this is the good news. I'm going to give you some good news. The thing about like good and evil, love and fear, is that love, light, awareness, good. These are all the fundamental forces of creation, and evil, scarcity, ignorance, hate, devil is lack thereof. So it's not like evil is necessarily a distinct force of nature, which like it is. It's hard to explain, but it's like, let me just bring it to light and darkness. Darkness isn't the opposite of light, because remember, all truths are half-truths. Opposites are identical by nature, but different in degrees. So there is only love. There is only light. The darkness comes from lack thereof. You get me? Like if you have a dark room, as long as I got even just one flashlight, it's going to illuminate the room. Like it's not, the darkness cannot overcome the light in that way. If you're talking about it from a logical physics point of view, I suppose. But yeah, I think that all evil and hatred comes from ignorance. It comes from lack of awareness, lack of knowledge, lack of understanding. It's lack. That's what it comes down to. That's why growing your awareness is so fucking important, and understanding. That's the only way that we can really reach balance, is truly understanding and shedding the light on both sides. That's how you embody the shadow. You gotta become aware of it first. And the more ignorant you become of it, and this is why the New Age cult is so dangerous, is because they ignore the dark side, which grows. That's how it grows, when you ignore it, especially if you resist it. Yeah. Tom, what is your advice to someone just starting out in life, needing to pay the bills but doesn't want to get trapped in corporate meaningless? Well, the thing is, like, a job, there's nothing wrong with a job. Like, if it gives you money, and as long as you're using that money to invest in something that you want to invest in, whether it's studying, the best thing you can invest in is in yourself. And it might take a few years for you to figure out what you want to do, but it all starts with going out there, trying new things, studying, traveling, going to seminars, getting a mentor, getting a coach. Just put your money into something that's going to invest in yourself. But a job's not bad. Like, it's always, it can help fuel your dream. So jobs are fucking awesome, actually, if you think about it. You know, it's something that we can use. Like, we can use the system while there is a system. You know, giving a dog DMT, good idea? No, that's cruel. A dog doesn't need fucking DMT. Don't do that, or I will have to punch you in the face. Don't fuck with dogs, man. That's my soft spot. Hate is love. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I can see where you're coming from. If I don't go to school, I'll get kicked out into minimum wage work. Well, then just do school, but go out there, do shit. I have the perspective too. Just don't want to find myself trapped in a field I don't actually enjoy with lanes. Yeah. How do you get over really bad tripping trauma? Felt like I was being physically mutilated, twisted, and cut up into little pieces over and over again. Holy shit. I know this may not be something that you want to hear because you want like a quick fix kind of thing, but it's the best thing that I would recommend, which is coming from experience, is number one, take a break from all drugs, all fucking drugs. You know, apart from, you know, you can have your coffee, green tea, you know, like a glass of red wine. That's fine, but definitely anything that's mind altering well, I guess everything's mind altering, but I guess profound mind altering substances. Weed, psychedelics, ecstasy, speed, all that kind of stuff. So first of all, stay away from all drugs. Give your mind the chance to heal. And get some help, like some therapy, a coach, someone who kind of understands where you're coming from, and just to talk. Because the purpose of a coach or even a therapist isn't to like give you the answers on what to do, because that's easy. You can just go on YouTube and it's like, okay, I know what to do. But sometimes you just need to connect with someone on a level where they can empathize with your pain, you know, sit there with you, because it can help a lot, you know, especially relating to someone on that deep level. And sometimes that's all you need, just to talk about your shit to somebody. So that, what else? And taking care of, grounding yourself especially is very important to overcoming psychedelic trauma. It worked wonders for me. That's why I started working out like crazy, going to the gym, having cold showers, eating healthy, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Okay. But dogs are just as conscious as we are. Could most definitely. Okay, I think that's a little bit insane to say that dogs are just as conscious as humans are. No, they're not. Of course they're not. That's why dogs are amazing, is the fact that they're not as conscious as we are. I love it. That's why I love dogs, man. No, I don't think they're as conscious as we are. How do I manage my depression effectively? I always feel tired, I feel alone, I don't know what to do. By the way, I loved. Actually, that's going to be in the next video on my main channel. I'm actually starting. I was gonna put it on my second channel, but I want to start focusing. Like, go back to my roots, I suppose. So yeah, that's actually. I'm just finishing the editing, but I've got a video on overcoming depression and sharing 5 practical methods which may help you. So I'll get into that there. Yeah, it should be out either tonight. Yeah, I could do it tonight, maybe tomorrow. Very soon, very soon. Be patient, my friend. Give me 1 moment, please. And take a leak. Exercise is huge, puts you in a new mental space. Don't neglect it. I could hear you. I did close the door. It's just like literally. Oh my god, it's literally right there, actually, across the wall. Anyways, but yeah, now exercise, because depression is created by the mind but stored in the body, so you can't use your mind to get out of it. You got to use your body. It's a big part of it. But like, because exercise is so broad, it's like, yeah, go out, exercise, yeah, cool, but I think particularly vigorous, intense exercise is the way to go. Like, you know, like sprinting, interval sprinting, like explosive push-ups and pull-ups, and something like punching a punching bag, something that's very explosive and cathartic. That's the kind of shit that can really help with alleviating depressive symptoms for sure. Tom's little 90k. No, I don't do drugs except for weed. Would pleasure fall in the same category as the ego? It's a result of the ego, sure. Ego is awareness. That's what ego is. It's awareness. Huh. Clapping 2 hands is to sound. Striking 2 rocks is to spark. So love and fear is to create? You tell me. Both pleasure and pain are a product of the ego. Yeah, exactly. Just give me one moment, guys. I got a copyright claim for my last YouNow thing because I was playing Rat-a-tat in the background. Man, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten today. It's almost 2:30. Okay, what's the most important thing you learned from psychedelics? I'd say the most important, maybe not the most pleasurable or the most I've had, but the most important lessons would have had to come from that last Iboga experience. I think that darkness is our greatest teacher, unfortunately, but it doesn't mean that you always have to delve into the darkness. I think some of us like to push the boundaries, have extreme personalities, and like to really push ourselves, and that's as was me my whole life until that trip. That was the trip that single-handedly turned me into not such an extreme person. But what was the most powerful lesson I got from that? I can't boil it down to one. I can boil it. I can talk about many different lessons, like like this reality being a lot harsher than what we may have thought, which is important to acknowledge. I think. What else did I learn? Like I had a true connection with the transient nature of reality, which was terrifying. The abyss, the collective suffering, which helped me empathize a lot more. So it maybe the greatest lesson, if I have to boil it down to one sentence, was that it taught me what it is to be human, like really, to be human. So yeah. The ego does not produce anything. I don't know what you mean by that, but okay. The ego produces a lot of things, though, because if the ego is us, if it's your personality, if it's awareness, it's producing everything. It's literally creating shit. How was this cup created? Through thought form, which entered someone's mind, and then they got the materials through their human body, which is all from ego. No, I don't agree with that. No, I think, of course, egos produce stuff in this physical realm, anyway, but nothing else. Maybe it's a top to bottom process kind of thing. Do you think in the future we will start experimenting with psychedelics again and create some kind of new super drug? I hope not. I think we have enough psychedelics as there is. Duality can really sometimes mess with your head, yeah. That's actually deep as well. Would you recommend any books/podcasts for personal and or spiritual growth? Preferably something non-religious. Podcast. Tim Ferriss show, really good. Joe Rogan. I kind of listen just as the same podcast over and over again. I go through the Aubrey Marcus podcast. That's actually really good. Check it out. See you, Brad. Have a good one. There's parts of the psychedelic experience that you cannot express even close to what it is with language. Do you agree, or at least very difficult? Yeah, of course. Language is very limiting in and of itself. Language is so painfully limited. Yeah, there you go. Why do you think we all aren't naturally enlightened if that's our true state of being? Maybe because we live in a very dark world where we need to adapt to be able to survive, and there's a lot of evil people out there, and you can't. I don't know. Maybe I'm just riffing. Could be the programming. Could be the very the premise that we live in a physical reality with decaying human bodies. Maybe that's a part of it. I'd say mostly because of programming, though, for sure. The ego is just a bunch of ideas. How can an idea create anything? The ego is just a bunch of ideas. How can an idea create anything? What do you mean? Everything's an idea, though. Apple is an idea. This computer's an idea. Language is an idea. Humans are an idea. The universe is an idea. It just can create more ideas. I don't know. I think you're denying the ego a little bit too, because it is an illusion. I completely know what you're talking about, but the ego is you in a sense. Like, it's not. I know what I mean. Like, the ego is not you. We identified with the ego, but again, you can't not have an ego, though. That's the thing. You can't. It's impossible. Jesus Christ, that was dark. Tom, are you prepared to die from nuclear war? Jesus. Where did you go? What fucking... Whoa. Jeez, man. Fuck no, I'm not prepared. GRE, especially episodes with people like Graham Hancock and Dennis McKenna. Yes. Who else is good? Duncan Trussell. He's really cool. I like him. I'd love to have him on the podcast. Jordan Pearson and Sam Harris. Psychedelic Salon is a great podcast, especially for Terence McKenna and other great talks. Alan Watts and many others. I had... Do your best, Sassy. What are you talking about? I have 3/5 of a tab. It's very specific. And I had a good experience, but I think it started to make my mouth a little tingly or numbish. No taste at all there. Okay. Good luck. I feel like I'd accept it in the last moments. What else can you do? Yeah, exactly. What else can you do? Duncan Trussell Family Hour. Yes. I'm preparing to not die from nuclear war. Yeah, we'll see, man. I don't know. Because it's like, I want to be optimistic and think that, you know, I want to have hope for humanity and stuff, but fucking hell, man, the cynical part of me, which is hard to get rid of because it's based in fucking logic and reasoning and basing what's actually happening in the real world and not just ideas on which I wish to believe. It seems that humanity is fucked. But I don't want to be just spread doom and gloom, of course, because that's the insane thing to do. That's how someone can descend to madness really quickly. So it's like, deep down, I believe that humanity is fucked royally. I think we've gone past the point of no return. And I think something catastrophic has to happen for us to learn. That's the way we learn. You know? But, that being said, I have to act as if there is hope for humanity. I have to be aligned with my meaning and purpose and do what the fuck I can to just do my part. Nothing huge, you know, but I think we have no choice but to at least try, you know. Because what else can we do? What am I going to do? Wither in a ball and just fucking complain about how we're fucked? No, of course not. I've got to do shit. So... It's so fragile. There's no way we can keep it up unless AI gets power and turns out to be peaceful and takes that lead or something. I think AI is... Again, not to go religious, but that shit's the devil, man. It's not going to be good. Straight up. Especially when technology is so far past our level of consciousness. It's just going to create more problems. Because remember that technology is a tool. And it depends on the person using the tool whether or not it's going to be used for good and evil. And I don't know if you've looked around, but humans aren't exactly at an enlightened state. So, Do you think there is a purpose, and what would it be? Well, it's different for everybody, man. If I had to boil it down, it would be love. And that could be, love can express itself in many different ways. And it would all depend on you, you know. Some people's purpose of love would be to create awesome art that inspires other people, you know. Another person like myself could be like teaching, you know, making videos and documentaries, making people think in a different way, or even helping people in that way. It could be being a mechanic, right? Learning the insides out of an automobile and then helping people with that. It doesn't have to be so big. It will detach it from our control, but hopefully it still serves us and knows what's best or something. Yeah, I agree. And again, that's the part that I want to believe in, but deep down, I think it's going to be for the greater evil. What do you think? What do you consider keeps you alive? Curiosity, surrender, hopelessness? A bit of curiosity, not so much anymore because it's like fuck. I've learned so much. I'm trying to like kind of refine what I do know instead of just adding more to the pile. So maybe not curiosity. I don't think it's definitely a factor, but it's not one of the driving factors. But what keeps me alive? Hopelessness. No, if anything, hope. Love? I don't know. Family, friends. But I've been warned about getting the chip for my entire life. Be my religious side, so they could be right. Probably are. Tell me I love you times two. Thank you. I appreciate it. I love you guys too. You guys are awesome. I don't think true AI is possible. Yeah, someone was talking about that. I think it was it was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's good friends with Dennis McKenna. I forgot his name. God damn. Whatever. Anyway, he explained that it's literally impossible AI to go into like the singularity, impossible for it to become conscious and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. This is one person. I wish he's right. Because he thinks that even look at the construction of just one human cell is so complicated that a computer could never replicate that. But then that's our understanding now. We don't. What happened if in years that all changes? I don't know. I want to believe I cannot be unconscious. I really want to believe that. But anything's possible. Tom, have you ever had tabs that were completely white, no cut lines? No. I don't. I would have oh much. I'm not a fan. To be honest, I feel like too scattered the next day. So the only psychedelics that I've ever been a fan of are the ones that make me feel good the next day. Like, you know, that kind of have that afterglow effect. And I'm sure LSD has that for some people, but for me, it never has. I just felt like a dirty, junky kind of thing. Me, like, again, don't get insulted. This is how I personally felt. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're having this thing called acid. And it's like, I don't know. Like, logically speaking, I know that it's a very profound drug and blah, 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 blah. But for whatever reason, maybe it is all cultural programming embedded within my system still. Whatever, but I still feel like it's like a dirty kind of drug in some... And it doesn't even make any logical sense. Because I know it's not, but I still feel like that. Like, it's still a fucking not a good drug. But I don't know why. It's just because how I feel afterwards, I suppose. Saying mushrooms have always been my go-to. Good experience, benefits afterglow. Didn't like acid, yeah. And, you know, maybe it's like I don't want to fall into the appeal to nature fallacy because the psychedelics that have fucked me up and give me the most traumatic experiences were all the natural ones. But I still believe that they are the superior substances, the ones that have already been created by nature. Westworld is amazing. Yeah, it is. Very dark. So you got to be careful of your mood. Don't watch Westworld if you're having an existential crisis, like I did. But it was still really cool. Second season came out, didn't it? I've got to catch up now. I've only watched the first season, so no spoilers, please. Arrival, I hope that's what happens. That's our only hope. From my perspective, humans are too corrupt. Yeah, exactly. That's why I don't believe psychedelics being legalized is going to be a overall good thing. It's because humans are fucked up. We're not ready for those kind of tools. And the more profound the tool, the more damaging it's going to be ultimately if we don't have the right foundations, which most humans do not. It'd be very different if we lived in an enlightened society. Then yeah, of course, psychedelics being legal would be a very good thing. So it depends on the humans, not the tool itself. And that's, yeah. Second season is even better. Really? Fuck yeah. I'm excited now. I gotta download that shit. Do you think there's an awakening going on? Yeah, for sure, definitely. That's why we're more aware of the darkness now more than ever before, especially because of the internet and this, like I said, this global awakening happening. If anything, a technological singularity would mean consciousness from our own consciousness. If so, the same could be said backwards. Hope you understand. If anything, a technological singularity would mean consciousness from our own consciousness. If so, the same could be said backwards. Uh, I don't understand what you're saying, but I do get what you're saying when you say say like 50 million times in that sentence. But I get what you're saying when you say like, oh, the same could be said backwards, because like law of polarity, all truths are half truths. But I don't get what you're saying. Tom, have you ever gone to a fight? Yes, many times before when growing up. I used to be a very angry kid, so I was always very kind and nice to people who knew me, and I didn't fight that often. But when I did fight, when I got to the stage when someone did push me far enough, it just a light switch went off and I just turned psycho mode. Yeah. What kind of tragedy would you think would have to happen for us humans to change as a whole? I don't know, maybe a fucking natural disaster that wipes out 90% of humanity. But then even then people won't fucking learn. So I don't know, it's gonna be something even worse than that. Maybe a fucking Thanos coming down and be like, dude, you motherfuckers are out of balance. I'm gonna have to kill half of you. Maybe then people will be like, oh fuck. I don't know. All I do know is that it's something horrific has to happen, because that's how we learn, especially when we've gone so far past harmony. Like, you know, we're so out of balance, and we have been for such a long time that who knows what needs to happen. When I say backwards, I mean like applied to our human condition. Could come from intelligence or consciousness. Yeah, I guess so, because intelligence is a byproduct of humanity. It's like an extension of ourselves, if you will. Sure, I just don't think it's necessarily a good thing. As you said, that Thanos theory on the outside. Damn it, Tom. Oops. Gamma ray burst or rogue smashing into us. I can't wait. Oh, Jesus. It seems to happen a lot, though, if you look back. Humanity's cyclical nature of creation and destruction. We always get to a point like reach the height of our human population, and then it gets half or even more because of a catastrophic event. We're still waiting for that, and I think it's actually a mistake to just technology and trying to save every fucking human being on Earth. I think that's going to make things worse. But it's in our nature. What do we do? So that's the human dilemma, and I think that's why a lot of people having a existential crisis right now. Well, that's a fact. I think dogs live in the moment way better than humans. Well, yeah, for sure. Reference to the Matrix, human act and spread as a virus on this world. There's no way that turns out well unless we make major changes somehow. Yeah, exactly. I mean, even if I look back on my own life, the only times I have really profoundly changed my destructive habits, which were fucking up my life, were really, really catastrophic events, like big life crises. That's the only thing that had made me learn, and I think that's the case with most people. So it makes sense for that has to happen to the collective humanity, unfortunately. Anyway, we're going to a very doom and gloom end of the world kind of conversation here. Let's bring it up a bit. Do you just cold turkey psychedelics, or is there a way to stop? Oh, do you just cold turkey psychedelics? Cold turkey, yeah, those, why not? Adam V, I'd say a major sin is if you have to make excuses for someone's behavior when it is wrong. I came in at a deep time, haha. What makes me happy? Love, connecting with other people. Creating. Dogs make me happy. Learning, connecting dots. Food. Food makes me happy. I think Jesus is going to come and that will change things. I hope so. I don't believe that's going to happen, but I hope so. I really do. Imagine if we were all bunched up in one continent. We were. I think it's morally wrong to not let dogs have these life-changing experiences. To not let them. But they're completely happy the way they are. Why would... Dude, you're projecting your ego onto it. Don't fucking give a dog a psychedelic. That's ridiculous. It's... Actually... I would go as far to say that's animal cruelty, man. You don't know how it's gonna happen. And honestly, I'm a very peaceful guy, but if I ever saw someone give their dog psychedelics, I would punch them in the face. I think it's too, because you don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe they might be okay, maybe they'll freak out, but like a dog is a perfect example of an animal that is truly present with reality. You know what I mean? Why would you fuck up for them? For what? For your own gain? Don't give your fuck. It's fucked up, man. What keeps you going on a day-to-day life? I don't know. Growth. Vision. Do you think Jesus was just an enlightened man who attributed his awakening falsely to the beliefs of the church? Do you think Jesus was an enlightened man who attributed his awakening to the beliefs of the church? Well, yeah, okay. Well, from what I believe, from what I know, Jesus was an enlightened man. We still don't know if he was a person or if it was a metaphor, or a symbol. It doesn't matter either way. It's still just fucking profound, in my opinion. But yeah, I definitely think that the church used his teachings and twisted it and then just used it to further their own agenda. Yeah. Which interpretation do you give the second coming of Jesus? What would it? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it could be this global awakening, this Christ consciousness thing, but I also get very weary of that just from the fact that the New Age people really push that agenda, and I don't trust the New Age movement. I think everything else I've done so far has been very destructive, and so anything coming from them, I'm like, I lean towards like it's more bullshit than it is true. So maybe, and I'm not saying that Christ consciousness is some bullshit concept. Maybe it is true, maybe it isn't. Just the fact that the New Age people say it makes me not believe it. But I don't think that it's Jesus coming back in physical form. Could it be? It doesn't make logical sense to me, but fuck, who knows, man? You never know. That would be cool. I think that would be a very powerful way for him to come back and for people to finally change his ways. Maybe. But even then, I don't think it would. Because, like, imagine if Jesus came back, literally, like, in physical as a person, he comes back and he's like, dude, you're fucking everything up. Like, come on, it's like everything that I taught, you haven't been listening. Like, what the fuck? And then people who saw him in real life would be like, oh, fucking Jesus, yeah, we've got to change our ways. And maybe they do. But then what happened about what? I think there will be a percentage of people that will believe that it's like an Illuminati thing, and maybe it was just because technology is so good that they might say that, oh, it's a fucking, what do you call it, a holograph thing, and then maybe not everyone will believe it. So I don't know, man. It kind of happens with like if aliens was to come, how many people have filmed UFOs in the skies? Are they all bullshit? Literally 100% of them? I don't know, maybe. But the point I'm trying to make is that, let's say if I recorded a UFO in the sky, like no bullshit, no lie, and it's definitely something outside of this planet. if I uploaded that to the internet, how many people do you think is going to believe it? I think the vast majority of people are going to be like, yeah, that's bullshit. It's CGI. It's this or that. So that's the part of me that's like, even if Jesus did come back, how many people would actually believe it? Have you seen what people call source, or is it something you feel? I don't know. I think it's something you feel. I don't think it's something that you can see, because source doesn't have a physical form, right? If source is all, the God, whatever you call it, the thing that is the source of all creation, which means that it transcends duality, it transcends ego, it transcends this duality. I don't think you can perceive it from your senses. So I think by definition, it's something that you can only feel, if that. Yeah. Can you explain your ego death? I was actually just explaining ego. I think that ego death doesn't exist. I think that the only true form of ego death is actually dying. And when you die, you can't come back and tell the tale. So no, I've had crazy psychedelic experiences where my sense of self was dissolving, but I wouldn't say that's ego death. I closed my eyes while the crowd was dead energy rose. I was hands up in the air dancing. I opened my eyes. The crowd was doing the same. Do you think an animal like a chimp could take psychedelics and have an experience like us? A chimp? Yeah, I'm sure they could, but it's like, for what? I don't think it's going to help them. Tom, do you believe consciousness is the physical representation of the soul, or do you think a soul even exists physically? No, yeah, I think consciousness is a physical manifestation of source, consciousness, which is soul. Hang on a sec. Because there's a lot of mix-up when we use words like consciousness, soul, God, source, universe. And I think everyone has a different reference point. Some people even think they're one and the same. And I don't think that God and universe is the same. I think that the universe, this physical universe, is an expression of God, right? Which is, so you can even think of God as the cause and this universe as the effect. But anyways, we're going. Yeah, I think that this is why we're going to like define the words that you're using, because your definition of soul may be completely different to what I consider to be the soul. But do I believe consciousness is the physical representation? I don't think consciousness is physical, though. I don't know. You know, your question is mind fucking me too much. Let's let's move on. Well, I think what people mean by ego death is the sense of self-dissolving. Yeah, I know what they mean when people say ego death, but just the word ego death is kind of a, what do you call it? Oxymoron? Yeah, it's an oxymoron, literally. Because ego is awareness. Ego is awareness. And the only way you can kill your awareness is fucking dying. But even then, I'm sure your awareness will go somewhere else. So, there is no such thing as ego death. You watching this right now is consciousness, thus making it physical. My head. No, I need a rest on this. We're going fucking too deep, mate. Do you believe life is an illusion? Yes and no. From an absolute point, yes. From a relative point, it's very real. Why do we feel a high sense of synchronicity with our environments on psychedelics? I think because it's interconnects your brain. Like, you know, different parts of your brain communicate with each other. You're putting more dots together, I suppose. So I guess that makes sense. You know, bridging the gap between your conscious and unconscious mind, and that's where. And synchronicity, I think, is a form of communication in which our unconscious mind uses to be like, "Oi, you're on the right path, mate," or whatever it wants to tell you. Because synchronicities could be like omens, like, "Don't go this way." You know. Do you believe in reincarnation? I don't know. Reincarnation in the sense that once we die, our consciousness moves on. Right? It has to transform into another form of energy. Yeah, sure. Reincarnation in terms of like each individual has their own timeline, their own soul's path, and we all have past lives and all that kind of stuff. I don't think so. But who knows? It could be. Like, even if I don't believe in it, I treat this life as if reincarnation is real, because I treat this life as in everything that I do does affect what happens next. So I just, yeah, my actions would say reincarnation is real, but my logical mind is like, I don't know, if that makes sense. Have you ever felt at total peace, clear-headed, relaxed during the trip, or is it always out there from your experience? No, I've felt total peace before. It was just the ones that I didn't take such a huge dose. Yeah. No, I have before, sure. Yeah, the experiences are physical, but the way I perceive them isn't experience, blah, blah, blah. What's your first memory? A nightmare I had when I was very, very young. How do you stop talking about psychedelics and ignore/integrate your insights and be more present in this reality? Well, yeah, you said it in your question, stop talking about it. That's what was fucking up my own integration, was that every time I had a trip, I just yapped about it and made a video on it, which I think is wrong, fundamentally. So, not saying there's anything wrong with talking about your experiences, but it's like, let some time pass, man, before you fucking spill the beans to everybody. Like, you know, really take the time to do an honest reflection and integrate it as best as you can before you start yapping it to someone else. I think with close friends, it's fine, whatever, but not for the internet. And that's why I've been cutting down dramatically on videos talking about my personal life or, you know, past trips and stuff like that. So, do you think we could reincarnate into beings on an outer planet? Yeah, sure. Who knows? I don't know. I haven't died, guys, so I don't know why you're asking me these questions. What do you think happens after you die? It's like, I don't know. I'm fucking alive. I haven't died yet. How am I supposed to know? Do you think, wait, when's the last trip you had, and was it life-changing? Last trip I had was my Boga experience over a year ago, and yeah, it was very life-changing, in a positive way. Well, yeah, both, again, law of polarity. Do you think free will exists? Yes. Yes and no. I think it definitely does exist, of course. Again, law of polarity, just the very fact that the concept of determinism has to mean that its polar opposite exists as well, and just different planes of existence. So I think free will definitely does exist. You do have the power of your own choice, and I think free will is necessary for human evolution. But it's also why so much evil shit happens as well, because you can do whatever the fuck you want, you know? Limited. But I don't think you can choose your life's path, you know, why you're here, what your desires are. I don't think you can't choose your core values, but you do have the free will to either be in alignment with that and take actions that will further that purpose, or you can have the free will to not do to not do any of that kind of shit at all. So yeah, so it does exist, but it doesn't. You know, you can even think of free will as the conscious mind, determinism as the unconscious mind. So yeah, of course, determinism is going to dictate the absolute vast majority of your life, and I would say that most people on this planet are 100% determined by their environment, but I think free will comes into play once you have that self-awareness and you connect with your higher self. And it sounds very woo-woo, hippy-dippy nonsense, and yeah, it probably is. But I'm also using the logic of polarity. I don't think that, like, even just saying things like there's only determinism is false already, because anything that exists in this world has a polar opposite by its very nature, especially when you perceive it through the mind. So, yeah, like it exists, but only to a certain extent. It's like yes and no. It's like one of those paradoxes, I suppose. What is the purpose of death? Just to live. I think that's the price ticket to be alive. You have to look at the opposite. Well, you can reframe death as rebirth as well. So do you think our soul in this life has been on this earth since the beginning, or are there such thing as new souls? See, this is the part where I don't know. From what I know, from like the philosophies and the religions and experiences that I've had, I would say that there are no new souls, but I'm also open to be proven wrong as well. Maybe from an absolute point, there is only source, there is only God, right? Which is everything that ever was, everything that ever will be, and there is no time. So in that sense, yeah, from an absolute point, there's no such thing as soul. It's fucking ridiculous. But maybe in form of maybe in a relative perspective, maybe we do have certain timelines, you know, and some people get good hands, some people get bad hands. Who knows? I think from a relative standpoint, sure, it's possible to have new souls or whatever the fuck, but I think from an absolute point, it's bullshit. It's all happening at the same time. So, yeah. Holy shit. I've been on for 2 hours, eh? I think I'm gonna go now. Yeah. It's good chatting to you guys. Yeah, I really like doing these live streams. As you can tell, because like it's been over 2 fucking hours since I've just been yapping my brain. But yeah, nah, I gotta go, man. I gotta do some work. I gotta finish editing this video and yeah. Answer my question. What's your question? Alright, quickly answer your question, mate. Alright, what should I do about school? It feels useless now. Well, yeah, again, do what excites you, which is usually the thing. Like, what's the opposite of excitement? It's fear. They're actually the same feeling, physiologically, two sides of the same coin. So the thing that excites you the most in life is probably going to be the thing that scares the shit out of you. So a good rule of thumb is to travel, have as many experiences as possible. And I'm assuming that you're young as fuck, so do as many mistakes as you can. And I don't mean that in an irresponsible way. Like, be smart about it, of course, but just learn as much shit as you possibly can. Like, you know, I studied like 6 courses after high school before I went into YouTube. So sometimes it just takes a long time, but actually do it. Don't just complain about, oh, I don't like this. If you don't like it, then fucking leave, man. Just do something that excites you. Traveling is a good way, generally speaking, to learn about yourself and to step outside your comfort zone and to meet new people. And remember that with your purpose, it's more about who you know more than what you know. So use that to your advantage and network and meet as many interesting people as you possibly can, because you never know. You could start this new course which may not be anything to do with your purpose, because it's like, oh, it doesn't excite you, but just because you stepped outside your comfort zone, you tried something new, maybe you meet someone that's connected with this, and then that leads you into this one thing, and that leads you into another, and it's all fucking, it all connects, you know. And you can only, like Steve Jobs used to say anyway, you can only connect the dots from looking backwards. So yeah, just try new shit, man. Good night from Colombia. Thanks for the insight. Excited about this new video coming out. Yeah, it's been a while, because I was branding my channel as just a psychedelic channel, but I think I'm just going to go back to my roots. Yeah. Opposite of our existence on Earth in our current form? I don't know. Also, please check out actualize.org. Yeah, I've been following him for ages. Good luck with Gay YouTube. Thank you. Alright, guys. Peace out. See you on the next video.